What is the ego? This is the 12th special thought in part 2 of A Course in Miracles. My name is Judith and this is the Qigong support for A Course in Miracles students. And this is part of the Lucid Mind Center, which is like a virtual center to retrain the mind. And the reason why this is called Qigong support is because for each one of those 365 lessons in the Course in Miracles, I have recorded a Qigong class. In the beginning, I recorded a Qigong class for every lesson, and later on, as we progressed and the teachings in the Course in Miracles changed, I created separate Qigong classes, which I am sending you to after reading and contemplating a lesson together with you. And the special thoughts, the special ideas, for them I normally create a special class where we internalize the idea and really try to experience what the Course is trying to teach us or make us understand. So let's begin reading the What is the Ego together and see where it takes us. What is the ego? The ego is idolatry, the sign of limited and separated self, born in a body doomed to suffer and to end its life in death. It is the will that sees the will of God as enemy and takes a form in which the will of God, is denied. We've been talking about the will of God quite a lot in the previous section, which was what is creation. The ego is the proof that strength is weak and love is fearful, life is really death, and what opposes God alone is true. We have been through this in Europe with our crusades. We have been trying to prove that strength is weak and love is fearful. And now we have got other organizations and fanatic religions which are trying to prove that as well. The ego is insane. In fear, it stands beyond the everywhere. Throughout history and even in the current times, we usually have religions, fanatic religions and fanatic ideologies, which are wanting to prove that, which want to prove that strength is actually weak and that weakness is strength. This is also where this victim mentality plays into, where you are like accusing the strong one. You are the oppressor, and then you're locking yourself into this oppressor victimhood. And this is what the ego does. This is a sign of ego gone absolutely mental. The ego is insane. In fear it stands beyond the everywhere, and the everywhere here is spelled with a big E. It's the everywhere, the universe. In fear, the ego stands beyond the everywhere, apart from the all, in separation from the infinite. In its insanity, it thinks it has become a victor over God himself. And in its terrible autonomy, it sees the will of God has been destroyed. And this is why I'm always talking about this pocket of darkness or this ball of darkness, where you where we have kind of created a ball or a room of darkness without a window, and we are in this darkness and we are looking inside into the darkness and we're thinking, there is no light, and and this is all full of fear. And all we need to do is basically just open up this pocket of darkness and realize that we have never ever left the light. We have never left the everywhere. We have never left the universe. We cannot leave the universe. We are in the universe. And this is the ego. The ego like closes itself in and says, oh, it is so dangerous, it's so terrible here. The ego is insane. In fear, it stands beyond the everywhere. It stands like apart from the everywhere, but it can't stand apart from the everywhere. So it has created this ball or this room within the everywhere. In fear, it stands beyond the everywhere, apart from all, in separation from the infinite. And how is that even possible? in separation from the infinite. I mean, how can it even think that it can stand separate from the infinite? How can it even think that it is separate from the Creator? There is no God. Well, how on earth did you come to be here? Oh, but this is all an evolution theory. Yeah, but what stands behind evolution? Where did it all start? I heard this analogy once from a scientist, from a kind of a scientist and somebody who also is a spiritual scientist, if you will. And he said, to believe that there is no creator and that there is no intelligence behind creation, behind the world and behind the universe, this would be the same as throwing all the ingredients of a Boeing 757 into a whirlwind and then somehow hope that it will create an airplane. You know, all the pieces which you need for an airplane. It's just to throw it into a whirlwind and then just hope that it will assemble itself just by accident. And this is the point. There is a creation. There is a creation behind even that what we're perceiving with our senses. There is a creative factor. This is creation. And we have a choice of how we are looking at it. It is not made by the ego. What is made by the ego is the judgment. Oh, this plant is nothing. This plant has no life. This is something I'm not going to respect. I'm not going to respect the life within this. I can do this better. I'm going to put loads of plastic plants around me and now look, I've done it. That is that ego's arrogance and ego's insanity. Thinking that it is existent without the Creator, with existing without the life force energy. Why is the heart beating? Why is the body breathing? Why is this plant growing? These questions the ego needs to ask in humility, or we need to ask ourselves this in humbleness and become aware of the Creator. The ego is insane. In fear, it stands beyond the everywhere, apart from all, in separation from the infinite. In its insanity, it thinks it has become the victor over God Himself, in its own little room of darkness. In its insanity, it thinks it has become a victor over God Himself, and in its terrible autonomy, it sees the will of God has been destroyed. It dreams of punishment and trembles at the figures in its dreams, its enemies who seek to murder it before it can ensure its safety by attacking them. The Son of God, on the other hand, is egoless. What can he know of madness and the death of God when he abides in God? What can he know of sorrow and of suffering when he lives in eternal joy? This is that word called amitwafwa, which I often say to you, which they're using in the Buddhist temples, in the Shaolin temples. Eternal wisdom, eternal peace, eternal joy, eternal life, eternity itself, amitwafwa. What can he know of fear and punishment, of sin and guilt and hatred and attack, when all there is surrounding him is everlasting peace, forever conflict-free and undisturbed in deepest silence and tranquility? In Qigong, peace and wisdom and tranquility is assigned to the organ system of the kidneys, reproductive organs and bladder. This is the element of water, and it's assigned to the winter in the year, the coldest part of the year. This is where you relax and you sink deep within, tonifying yourself, ready for the next season, which is spring, where everything starts growing again. The water also stands for death. It stands for preparing for the new beginnings. That element and the organ system is also associated with fear. So when fear is rampant, when darkness is rampant, it's the most yin. It is dark. It is the negative. It is the contracting, you know. And when fear is out of bounds, this is when you cannot remember who you truly are. So what we really want to do, and what the whole Qigong is built up about, it is about letting go of fear and sinking in that depth, in that darkness, finding the peace and the wisdom, connecting to the truth, who you truly are. And this is why I also call it the belt of fear. You want to get rid of this, the fear and all the other negative emotions which are rooted in fear. But fear itself, it's rooted in the universe. It is rooted, the earth itself. If you look at the analogy, earth is yin. It's the yin in comparison to yang, the universe. Earth is showing us, it's giving us a platform where we can remember who we truly are. I mean, we don't really know, but from out-of-body experiences and from other reports of near-death experience, it seems that people, when we die, some of us are so caught up in that mind construct of ours that we are hovering in this mind, in this negative ego construct, that we cannot even remember after we have left the physical body. We cannot even remember that we are the light. And this is one of the programs I went in the Monroe Institute, which was called Lifeline. And in this program, we were trained to go into that space where we go after we die, and look for entities who don't realize that they have died. Our job was to get their attention and then guide them into something which the Robert Monroe called the reception center. That's where the souls, when they die, arrive, and then their loved ones which have died previous to them actually receive them and guide them into this new state of consciousness, if you will. But these beings usually, even if in our time space continuum, it might have been that they have been dead 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. In their own perception of self, it feels like they have been for a long time. But if you then probe them in, so how long? Well, then we would maybe say a day or two. It's not like they are in a 1,000 years in hell. It is just that they don't realize that they have let go of the body. They are kind of keeping this mind construct, this illusion. They keep it in place. They are like holding on to it. Whether this is now true or not true, I cannot tell you. I can just tell you from my own experience. Robert Monroe said that the reason why we see these particular entities altogether is because they're somehow related to our own experience of this human experience which we're having now. For some reason, we are related to these beings we are picking up. And then again, I don't know whether this is a genetic connection or whether this is some other kind of mental connection which is going through. I don't know how it works. I don't think it is a soul situation. On observation from being in there, I didn't feel it was a soul which needed to have a purgatory or an understanding. For me, it felt more like there was some sort of an physical genetic connection between the ones I rescued. There was some aspect of myself in them, but not the holy self, which I had been trained to understand from the Course in Miracles. It was not that what there was. It was more like an ego connection there. And so in those concepts which we have been taught in the world so far, I haven't found a explanation which is satisfactory to me. So I believe that this is some sort of a genetic, emotional connection which makes you pick up certain entities in that out-of-body experience. So whatever that may mean to you. So let's read this. Why did I come to say this to you? What can he know of fear, the Son of God? What can he, the Son of God, know of fear and punishment, of sin and guilt, of hatred and attack, when all there is surrounding him is everlasting peace, forever conflict-free and undisturbed in deepest silence and tranquility? And the reason I remember now is because the deepest silence and tranquility is deep within you. It is the lowest point within your torso. It is the lower dantian, and we have to kind of sink deep into that lower dantian, past that belt of fear, and connect to the wisdom. To know reality with a capital R, is not to see the ego and its thoughts, its works, its acts, its laws and its beliefs, its dreams, its hopes, its plans for its salvation, and the cost belief in it entails. In suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense that crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine, and blood must flow before the altar where its sickly followers prepare for death. In this particular sentence, you have to understand this is not what the Course is saying that you need to do. The Course is saying that this is what the ego thinks what it must do. Let me just read this one more time. To know reality with a capital R is not to see the ego and its thoughts, its works, its acts, its laws and its beliefs, its dreams, its hopes, its plans for its salvation, and the cost belief in it entails. This is not what we need to do. In suffering, the price for faith in it, in the ego, in suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense that crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine, and blood must flow before the altar where its sickly followers prepare for death. This is not what we want. And then it says, yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light. One little lily of forgiveness will create an opening, and that in that pocket of darkness, in that ball of darkness. Yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light, the altar to illusions, to the shrine of life itself. And peace will be restored forever to the holy minds which God created as His Son, His dwelling place, His joy, His love, completely His, completely one with Him. What is the ego? The ego is the darkness. And yet, we have to go through the darkness in yin and yang to find the light within the yin-yang symbol. And with this worldly humbleness, this I am a saint, you have to go through all this light and find the darkness in the yin-yang to really truly understand who and what you are. It is easier to find the light within the darkness than to find that pocket of darkness within the light. That is why I want you to be really, really aware of false humility, because false humility creates so much damage. And it is so difficult to find because it is that dark spot in the yang. This is just the experience of this humanity. This is the split into duality. You want to turn away from the duality and return back into oneness, remembering that you are that one Son of God who is one with his Father, one with his Creator, returning back into that one dimension. It is not about more. It is rather about less. It is rather about stepping back into second place to remember the first, to have the first place. It is not about elbows. It is about tranquility. It is about returning back into peace. If you have never read the introduction to part 2, I suggest you actually do this with me one time. And remember that you are supposed to read the special thought every day, because every day you're going to undo one more obstacle to that peace within you. You're going to remove one more obstacle, and there's going to be more light within you, more understanding, more love, more of the realization that you are one with your Creator, one with the Christ consciousness within you. Here you have got all the relevant links, and I wish you a wonderful day.